right, it's good to have you here. You are welcome to the Career and Growth series brought to you by the Yaka Initiative. I am Ifeanyi and I have an amazing guest with me today. I'm going to let her introduce herself, but please let me say this. We have with us the founder of Elsa Lagos. Drum rolls! Hi, Elsa. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. Good
Amazing.
day.
Thank you for coming. Do you want to introduce yourself a bit? I don't want to
Okay.
let the cat out of the bag much. So, who's Elsa of Elsa Lagos?
Okay. So my name is Elsa, and I'm the founder of Elsa Lagos, a jewelry brand situated in Lagos, Nigeria. So you get the name Elsa Lagos.
Right.
Yeah.
But don't even get it twisted. She's international.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm a first class graduate from the University of
Mm,
Lagos.
mm,
I studied
mm,
biochemistry,
mm.
and now that I'm a graduate, I'm taking my business full time, and that is Elsa.
That's Elsa, keeping it really brief. But that's the purpose of this show because we're going to learn much more about her and, of course, take lessons from her experience. So let's jump right into it. What was it like growing up for you? And I think biochemistry is an interesting course of study. So, how did you land at selecting biochemistry, heading into school, and what was growing up for Elsa like?
Okay, so growing up was really interesting. I have five younger siblings, three
What?
girls, three girls and two boys. But I grew up with the girls, so it was a girls' house,
Okay.
and I'm the first child. So I was literally the guinea pig for everything that went on in the house. My sisters are way younger than I am, so I was also their small mommy. That's what they
Okay.
call me at home. We moved around a lot, and so I learned a lot of different experiences and cultures. And that's why when people look at me, they don't really know where I'm from. They can't tell from how I sound or things I do because I picked up a lot of things along the way. And now about biochemistry. So my mom wanted me to study medicine,
Okay.
and my dad wanted me to study engineering. And I did not
Ah.
want to do any of those two things.
Mhm.
In fact, I wanted to study baking and pastry arts. I wanted to be a baker.
And you were gonna study that
Yeah, there's
with
a course like
Nigerian
that.
mummies and
I'm
daddies.
telling you, my mommy said, "You want to sell meat pie?" Like, that's literally what she said. I grew up watching Cake Boss
Ah,
on Food
okay.
Network, so that was my dream.
Fantastic.
And my parents were like, "Not here." So I looked at the list of courses that universities were offering, and I'm like, okay, I enjoyed biology in secondary school. I enjoyed chemistry, so let's do collabo.
Such
Let's study
wisdom.
such wisdom. I didn't do any research.
Hmm.
I just chose biochemistry on all my jam forms. I got the course I wanted, and that's
You
it.
landed in
I
Unilag.
landed in Unilag.
We're gonna come to the shock when you eventually met the course itself.
Yeah.
But maybe moving away from the course a bit, you did mention how even with you, well, this was us talking, backstage, how that you were not going on the back of any research and you just landed and met biochemistry because you loved biology and chemistry. But let's do a bit of a forward track to your jewelry journey. How did you land in jewelry? Where did that love start from?
I don't love jewelry.
Okay.
In fact, for me to wear what I'm wearing now it has been a conscious effort over the years. I fell into jewelry. I started my business in 2019.
Okay.
It wasn't a thing to do branding then. Like, you can just wake up and start a business. You
Right.
don't have to open an Instagram
You
page.
don't have to have a name
You don't
of the
have to have a name. You
business.
don't have to have a logo. So I woke up one day, I was tired of being broke because
Hmm.
prior to university, I didn't go to university immediately after secondary school. I had been at home for 3 years.
Jammed you.
No, my jam scores were really high, but I was rebelling. I wanted to study baking and pastry arts.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, so if you don't want me to study baking and
I'll
pastry
stay at
arts, I'll
home.
stay at home. And my mom was like,
Whoa.
okay, you can stay at home. So I stayed at home. And after 3 years, I'm like, okay, I'm tired of staying at home.
This is interesting.
So during those 3 years, I wasn't idle. I had a job. I was a baker. I had my cake business. In fact, most people know me as Elsa Vanilla because I was baking. Yeah, I was selling cakes. It was a whole thing. So getting into university, I had to stop baking because I couldn't bake in the hostel.
Okay.
So it was my first time really being broke, like having no
Ah.
personal money. So I started to strategize. What can I do to earn money for myself? Something that is not capital intensive, is not time intensive. So I went to the market with my friend. I looked at clothes. I'm like, oh, I don't have space for clothes. I looked at shoes. I'm like, how many sizes do I want to get? And I looked at earrings. I'm like, earrings are one size fits all. Everybody wears earrings. I'm in a female hostel. This is perfect. So I just got 10 pairs of earrings and started.
And you sold out.
And I sold out like the next day. My room
You
is
were already in
just
huge
rushed with-
demand.
Yeah.
Great. You did mention when you were introducing yourself that you graduated with a first class. I mean, I can only imagine all the effort you would have had to make to have a business that was thriving. You were in school as an undergraduate and you also had academic demands to meet. How did you combine that? What tips did you use? What strategies can you share with our listeners?
Okay. Before I begin to talk about my journey, there's a book I read. It's called Outliers
Okay.
by Malcolm
Gladwell, yeah.
And that book, it made me see myself as an outlier because when I tell my story, people think that there were things that I did directly that led me to the outcome that I am currently living in. But it is actually about my whole journey from my childhood down to university that brought me to this point. So that being said, I was always a gifted child. I remember in primary school when they were giving out awards on prize giving day, they just told me to stand by the stage because I was going to collect everything. So instead of walking to my seat, coming back,
you just stood. You know what? I'ma just stay here. You just give it to me.
Exactly. So that was my experience in primary school. And then in secondary school, I went to Loyola JC College and they have a 2% acceptance rate.
Yeah.
So it's a very competitive school. So everyone that comes there was first in their primary school. I never came first. Oh, I came first in Loyola only once. But after that, I was just like an average student in Loyola. But it was very, very intensive in terms of academics. We read a lot, we studied a lot, more than the average student. So these are things I learned early on. And we were also very big on extracurricular activities. So I used to play football in secondary school. I was a marathon runner.
That's fantastic.
While also being an average student.
I love that balance.
Exactly. So
no, you were not an average student. You
Yeah.
assumed you were average, especially because you were in the midst of equally gifted children.
Exactly.
But there was nothing average about you.
Thank
There's
you.
still nothing average about you.
Thank you. So coming into Unilag, my first shock was A is 70.
Like,
I'm like, really?
it's giving barest minimum.
Like, I'm like, oh, this is going to be easy because secondary school A was 90. And you know, that's a lot. You have very little margin of error.
The Italian curriculum is also very similar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, A is 90.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, if A is 70, then I don't have to do too much, right? that was my first instinct. And so when I started, I still had the culture of reading. I read a lot and I assimilate very fast. So one thing I tell people that ask me how I got a first class is you have to know yourself. So me, I know that I read very fast. I assimilate very fast. If I write something down and I can teach it to you or teach it to Pastor Ife, is that okay?
You've very likely learned it.
Yeah, I've learned it. And any question that comes out of that, I'm going to get it. So in Unilag, when I know that exams are approaching, I draw up a reading timetable and I read according to how I know I read. I teach my course mates. I had like a little friend group where I just call them and say, okay, come, let me teach you. Let me teach you what I have learned. And I had a way of breaking down difficult topics into really, really easy things. Like I always look, okay, so how does this apply in real life? Because when something is abstract, you're not going to learn it. You're not going to understand it completely.
True.
But when you've brought it into like real life, you know that, oh, okay, this makes sense now. And because it makes sense to you, you remember it. So that was one thing about my first class. Another thing was time management. Remember when I said I was picking a business because it was not time intensive?
Tasking.
Exactly. Jewelry doesn't take much, or it didn't. Now it's a full-time job. It didn't take much from me. All I had to do was go to the market, get the jewelry, show people. I wasn't taking pictures. I wasn't posting. I wasn't dancing on. There was no TikTok. Was there TikTok? I don't think there was TikTok. I wasn't dancing on TikTok. I wasn't even posting on my WhatsApp
For the
status.
longest time.
I don't even think they were WhatsApp statuses. I don't even remember, but I wasn't doing any of that. I was
Yet you were
just
selling.
procuring and showing interested parties, and I was selling. So because of that, I had enough time to do my assignments, to do my projects, to attend classes. And when the business eventually grew into what it is now, this is like 2021, post COVID, I had people to help me. So I had contacts of all the suppliers in the market that I can call. Oh, please help me send this to this person. My dispatch riders were very understanding. I'm a student, so you have to come between this time and this time when I'm not in class. If I'm in, I had people around me, my neighbors, that I would say, "Oh, please, I'm going to school. A rider is coming. Help me with this package." So it was really a whole community of people around me that were helping me achieve my goals. And even in class, if I can't make it to a class, my friends were available to write notes and share with me, say, this is what we learned. Then sometimes if a test was coming or something, they would just call me, Elsa, where are you? We're about to have test. I'll just start running to class to get this done. So that was another thing about me. I took my academics as seriously as I took my business. There was no point where I said,
I was going to be nonchalant about my academics
my
because
focus
I
is my
was focused on
business.
my business.
No, it was always my desire to graduate to the first class because I was coming from an excellent place. And because I stayed at home for 3 years, I already had mates that had graduated. So I'm seeing my classmates from secondary schools graduating summa cum laude from Princeton, because most of them went abroad. And I'm like, okay, I can't be different.
The least that I can do is to be the best that I can be here.
Exactly. Wherever I have found myself, I have to be the best here. And that was my goal. So even after COVID happened and I lost motivation a little bit, that was my first semester with a 3.9 GPA. It was my lowest GPA in Unilag. It made me remember what I wanted and why I was there and putting the effort again. Because after COVID, it was like, for context, my course was 4 years and I spent 6 years in Unilag because of strike. Yeah, so
Schooling
it got
in
to a point
Nigeria.
where I'm like, I've wasted so much time. I'm already behind. I wasted 3 years at home. Now I'm spending 6 years in school. It's already 10 years after. What is going on?
Yeah,
Do I still want to do this? And all of that. But that failure, quote unquote, because that's really good for some people. But for me, it wasn't good at all. So that failure made me sit up to say, okay, I remember why I'm here. I remember what I'm trying to achieve and put in the effort again. So that's basically how I pushed through in
This is super. This is super. So many useful nuggets you have shared. And I'll just run through it again so it makes it easy for our listeners to immediately grab on all of the information you have shared. First, start by knowing yourself. So it helps you best pace yourself when you are self-aware.
Yeah.
When your friends are going to study, might not be the best time you should study.
Exactly.
Chances are you should start from day one because your assimilation rate is probably slower. I had a friend like that back in school days. And at the time, we mocked her because we didn't understand what she was doing. And boy, oh boy, she's currently the vice president technology at Morgan Stanley.
Wow.
She was doing a lot of amazing stuff. And that was because she took her time to know herself. So first tip, know yourself. Second tip is time management.
Definitely.
I like something you mentioned. I started from an excellent place. I am not going to come here and then fault at it. So I have started with a particular level of intensity. I intend to maintain it. My business is as important as my academics. One isn't more important than the other.
Yeah.
Very, very powerful. And I think I'll round off all that you have said by just highlighting the fact that even when you suffered a sort of low point, I like how practical that is because it wasn't a smooth sail all through.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I am graduating with the first class. I am giving it my best all the time. You had low points. Makes it really practical. Post-COVID, you were tired. You had spent 6 years or you were going to spend 6 years for a 4-year course. it was a low point for you, but one way you got out of it was to remind yourself why you were here in the first place.
Yeah.
So I'll wrap all of that into a third tip to say, always remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing. So
Exactly.
first tip is to know yourself. Second tip is to manage your time. And third tip is to remind yourself why you started this in the first place.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Thank you.
It's due for a book, all of this experience. Let me ask you this, and I know you've spoken to it a bit, but just in case there's any part of it you haven't mentioned, to run a business, run it so well, and at the same time graduate, not just graduate, but excellently, were there specific type of challenges you encountered? I imagine one of them was that very low point for you as a result of the strikes which come with schooling in the Nigerian environment. But were there any other challenges that you had to deal with?
Yeah.
While balancing this too.
Unilag is a very unique place in the sense that
For context and for our international audience, Unilag is the University of
Lagos.
Lagos. Yeah.
That's my apologies.
No, it's okay. That's my job. You're doing excellent.
So I went to Unilag is a public school,
Mm-hmm.
so you're allowed to move in freely. There are no restrictions. You can do whatever you like, which means you can graduate with whatever you like. No one is going to police you. And that was an advantage and a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
And it posed its own unique challenges because when you are sleeping, there's no one to
police you around and be like, hey, get up, why are you sleeping?
Even nobody is calling your parents to say, your daughter has not been attending classes. Like, if you like, don't attend classes, right? So that was a unique challenge in itself. And I think one way that I overcame that was the community I formed around me.
Okay.
It got to a point, I think in 200 level, there was a course that everyone... So my matric number was the first. Funny enough.
Interesting.
My surname is not A, but I don't know.
I was going to ask, is your surname A?
Yeah, but I was the first on the list. So when they print results, everybody knows my results. I'm going to be there first. And there was this particular course, zoology, where everybody failed. But I had an A in the course. And my friend made an interesting comment. She's like, if you want to get the general idea of how a course went, don't start with Elsa's name. Even though she's first, just skip and
Elsa is not the average.
She's not the average.
She's in a class of her own.
Yeah, and that was something that really stayed with me because I'm like, people are looking, people are watching. So at least if the school isn't controlling and policing, at least I have a community of friends that are looking out for me. So that was one challenge and how I overcame it. Another thing was managing my time. It got particularly difficult in 300 level, 400 level. This was 2022 to 2024 because the business blew up. I had a yearly revenue of maybe 1 million in 2020, 2021. And all of a sudden in 2022, my revenue was 5 million. 2023, it went up to 14 million. And I was still a student. And like I mentioned, when I started, it was basic. I wasn't doing anything. But now I had to create content. I had to post. I had to schedule deliveries. I had interstate deliveries to handle. And it became this whole... it just fell on me again. I wasn't prepared for it. So that was a challenge and school was getting more difficult because we're advancing in studies. Lecturers are beginning to know your names. Elsa is not here. Where is matric number? You understand? So that became something that I needed to pay attention to. And it was also around that time my GPA slipped. So I now had to really, really double down on my time management. I hired someone.
Great point.
To help. I started using scheduling apps on Instagram, schedule my posts. I created a timetable, a daily timetable. So this is something we had in secondary school where they say 8 to 12 math, 12 to 1 lunch, 1 to 2 this. So I brought that into my daily life. Okay, 8 to 12 classes, 1 to 2, don't forget to eat. So I had all these little alarms on my phone. 4 to 6, create content. 6 to 8, schedule posts for the next day.
Okay.
I created a sales calendar, a content calendar, and I was following these things religiously. Reading timetable. I'll say, okay, on Monday you are reading PCH 414. Tuesday, this is what you are reading. Do your assignment on this day. And that really like changed everything for me, because it was really easy to get distracted at that point. Like when your business is doing such numbers as a student, it's really easy to get distracted.
Yes, it is. At some point, you could even choose to ditch school.
Yeah, you're like, I don't need this.
I must commend your ability to see it through.
Thank you. Thank you. Especially because I knew I wasn't going to practice. I had no intention of being a biochemist.
And with all that information at your disposal, you still wanted to be excellent at it just because you were doing it.
Yeah.
That's not something I'm going to forget anytime soon.
Thank you. It's just something that's ingrained in me. If I'm going to do something, I have to be one of the best at it. And it's something that has carried me throughout my life to the point where I am now.
That's very powerful.
Thank you. And yeah, those were the major challenges I faced. I moved out of the hostel immediately after my first year because I did not want any sort of comparison, or how would I explain this? I didn't want people looking into my business. So it got to a point when people realized how successful the business was. They started hailing me, CEO, show love now, anything for the girls. I'm just trying to want you to create a lifestyle that you
could not afford at the time.
Exactly. And I'm a very prudent person. I may have a lot of money, quote unquote, in my business bank account. I'm not going to buy new hair. I'm not going to buy an iPhone just because. So moving out of that environment helps me to
stay grounded.
To stay grounded and focused. Like, you don't need to know how many pieces of jewelry we have now. It's like it's behind closed doors. So when I come out, I can present myself the way I want to be presented. Yeah. So that was it.
You didn't allow the pressure of keeping up with the Joneses to happen to you.
I still don't even.
The moment you saw that there was the possibility of that, you made the decision to move out of the hostel.
Yeah, exactly.
You're very wise. You're very wise. And to be honest, I'm learning a lot. How much more the audience that we're targeting with this career and growth series, it's going to be so powerful for them to be empowered with this sort of information, regardless of their age, no matter how young they may be and whatnot. To the point I just made, what would be your top 3 advice to a younger Elsa? If you were talking to a younger Elsa, what would you say to her?
I was looking through the questions yesterday, and I got to this question, and I looked at my husband, and I said, if I advise young Elsa differently, I may not be here in this exact spot today, because everything I experienced and went through kind of brought me to where I am. But there are things that I would like to tell younger Elsa. Okay. So the first thing I would say is, before you turn 25, avoid romantic relationships. Because now that I am, how old am I? I keep forgetting my age. But now that I'm older, I realized that a lot of those things were distractions. They told me at the time.
But you wanted to see it for yourself.
And I did not believe it. Exactly. And I saw for myself. It was not funny. But it's actually a distraction. It's something that is not needed. Friendships are enough. I'm glad that my sisters can talk to me. So I tell them everything I went through as plainly as I can. But a lot of those things added to the extra time, extra delay I had before going to school, even while in school. So that's one thing I'll say. Avoid romantic relationships early. Let me not say before. Let me not put an age, but early. Focus on what you're trying to build or trying to become before trying to be with someone else. Understand yourself, know yourself, be yourself. Like, some people don't even know who they are. True. When I was in my early 20s, if I hang around you a lot, I take up your mannerisms.
And you start to
and
mirror.
I start talking like you. I start dressing like you.
Yeah.
And then when I move to somewhere else,
you do the same.
I do same. And it's like, who is Elsa? I did not know what I liked. I did not know what I liked, what I like to wear, what I like to eat. I was just assimilating from my environment. So that's something I would tell younger Elsa. Another thing I would say is, please, before you pick a course, not read.
Go do some research.
What do they do here? What do biochemists do in Nigeria? Just in case
that's one.
You want to enter the corporate world. When it got to IT, CWES,
yeah,
all the companies.
That's internship.
Internship. All the companies we applied to, we don't take biochemists. We don't need biochemists.
Oh my God.
We don't take biochemists.
Any particular reason why?
Because like a very strange place. So our internship was divided into 2, 3 months, 3 months.
Okay.
And most companies like 6 months.
Yeah.
So when you come with your 3 months, they're like, no, we don't want. No. So most of us had to do our internship in school. Yeah. And which is not really much of an internship.
Yeah,
anyway.
You don't really get the work experience.
Exactly. And then now that we are done, like, where can you really apply to? Nigeria is not very research based.
True.
And even if there are some research companies around, we graduated 100 plus students from biochemistry from uni, like alone.
How many would they take?
How many can they possibly take? Exactly. So you see a lot of biochemists in the bank. You see us in fashion design. You see us selling jewelry. Right? So it's something to really look at the future of your course. Look at the job opportunities available and everything.
Might I just say that's what makes the Yaka initiative very powerful, because at the core of the Yaka initiative is to increase the optionalities for an average youth in Nigeria. And not just Nigeria, but the world at large. Nigeria is no average or ordinary place. Mm-hmm. You go into the university studying one course and you come out doing another thing. So the Yaka initiative helps you connect with what other alternatives or options or possibilities there can be for you, mm-hmm. so that you're never stranded. And I appreciate that we're talking to you, who ended up being so excellent in the academic space, but at the same time founded and successfully ran a business while in school. Let me ask you this at this point. In your experience as a business owner and a founder, what is one unforgettable moment you have had, and why does it stay with you? Why is it unforgettable?
So this happened very, very recently. Okay. I'm going to love this story.
I'm looking forward to it already.
So when the year started, I had a lot going on this year. My convocation was this year. I got engaged this year. I got married this year. It's been a whole ride.
Roller coaster.
Yeah, and my business suffered.
For it.
I'm used to exponential increase. Like, if we did 5 last year, we're going to do 10 this year. We're going to do 15. Mm-hmm. But 2025 has really been the same as 2024 in terms of growth. It's just been more.
Would you call that loss?
I won't call it a loss. I think because we were growing roots downwards, it wasn't obvious outside.
Okay.
So there are lots of structures we put in place, like our website. Mm-hmm. I hired more staff. I delegated a lot of the things I used to do personally.
Operational things,
exactly. So I think we'll see the fruits going forward. Mm-hmm. But to the outside, it looks like, we stayed the same, kind of. So I started thinking, how can I increase revenue? What can I do differently? And I decided to start another business. It's still jewelry, but it's like an offshoot of what we're currently doing, which is focusing on engagement rings. So it has a higher average order value, which is definitely going to increase revenue. Mm-hmm. So I decided to do that. And I made a business plan, and I just wrote it down in my journal and kept it. And one night before I slept, I randomly tweeted, "Who believes in me enough to invest in me?" And I went to bed. And I woke up to a message from someone I had never spoken to. Oh, wow. And he's like, "I want to give you money." I said, "Sorry?" Okay. So that was a joke. I'm like, okay, sure. Like, I was lost for words. And he's like, "Let's have a meeting by 12. I'm like, okay. So I ran to my journal and I converted that to a quick PowerPoint. Mm-hmm. I wrote that I needed 5 million to start up. Long story short, I got that money that week. Like,
impressive.
Immediately, from someone that I have never spoken to. And I asked him, like, what made you so confident? And he's like, I spoke to someone and he really vouched for you. We've been watching you.
Credibility.
We're seeing what you're doing with your business. And so it was a no-brainer. I don't think I'm ever going to forget this experience, because I know what raising funds is like. I have tried to raise funds for my business. I always end up leaning on family and friends. It is not a walk in the park, because Nigerians are losing money every day due to inflation. So for you to give somebody that amount of money for the time period that he gave it to me, it was like a miracle. Mm-hmm. And it just helps me realize that the work I'm doing It may look small. It may look like it's just in my circle, but people are watching, and the excellence didn't go unnoticed. So
That's really amazing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And I like the recency of it.
yeah,
It also shows that you are still in the moment of that experience. You're still reeling the benefits from it. I guess you're still servicing, the loan, be it a loan
yeah.
or a grant, whatever it is. Thank you for sharing it. I'm thinking if you had to talk to an average Nigerian youth, probably someone who's currently in school, but they are multifaceted because they probably have business interests. They also are hobbyists. There are a couple of things that they like. And of course, putting that together with the academics. And they want to show up on every front without losing focus. I don't know how that is possible, but that's why you're the one on the hot seat. How should they go about it? How can they explore all the things that they are capable of without seemingly losing focus?
If there's a multifaceted person, it's me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything I can't do. As far as I've tried to learn it before, I can do it. I run, I play football.
You still run?
Yeah, I still ran for my department last
Okay,
year. I
okay.
came first, of course.
Oh,
It was an 800-meter race. But my
brilliant.
body was telling me you're getting old. I
Really brilliant.
crochet. I even had a business on that for a while. I bake. I am a creative generally. And growing up, this was a question I also had. I'm still growing up, I mean. When I was younger, it was a question I had. And one thing I realized is that each talent or each interest will have its own season. It is not possible for you to be all at once. Even if we look at David in the Bible, there was a time when he was a shepherd boy, and then he went on to become a musician. Then he went on to become king, and then sometimes he'll focus on writing psalms. Sometimes he's going to war. He didn't. There was no point where he was singing in battle and writing songs at the same time. But when you look at his life, you can say, oh, these are all the things that he did. So it is very okay to assign seasons to different talents. It may not be something you do consciously. It may be something that you do without knowing. Like you see that, okay, there's a wave of crochet interest going on around the world. You can decide to now put your crochet foot forward and show that to the world. Then maybe if that keeps going, you can end up hiring people to work for you while you pursue other interests. But I would not say that you should try to do everything at once. Even when I was in school, I did not think about expanding. In fact, I tried to start another brand while I was in school, selling bags, and it flopped, I think, after 3 months.
What have you not tried, Elsa?
I tried a lot. So it failed. It was a failure. That business did not even lift. It did not lift from the ground. And so that is why I can say, like, there's time and season for everything. Now I can start another brand confidently because I'm no longer in school. So my focus can be on these two things. Everyone has 24 hours in a day. So you have to be very wise about how you
apportion your time.
Exactly. Because you have the same 24 hours as somebody else. And you also have, like I said in the beginning, you know yourself. Some people can be in school and run successful businesses, and some people can't.
Yeah.
It's not a curse or anything. It's just everyone is different. So I always say nothing is small until it is compared. You are the one that is placing yourself beside someone else to say,
and that's forcing you to look down on the things you're
exactly.
capable of.
Meanwhile, you don't know what is in your future. You don't know what your timeline looks like.
And you don't know what you can do very well that the other people you're comparing yourself to probably can't do at all.
Exactly. So that's just my advice.
Thank you so much. We're bringing this to a close very shortly. And I must tell you, I'm absolutely enjoying myself and learning a lot. Okay. I think 2 more questions before we let you go. Okay. I have 2 questions I'm going to wrap into one. For an average Gen Z, a young secondary school leaver, probably someone who's just got into university and is considering exploring business, what will be the biggest advice you will give them? And the second tranche of this question is, how would you also suggest they go about raising funds?
So I'll start from the second part of the
Okay.
business. Like I mentioned, raising funds, I always fell back on family and friends. It's the quickest, safest, and easiest
Easiest.
way.
Yeah.
When I started Elsa Lagos in 2019, I called my cousin and I said, I beg, borrow me 5K,
Mhm.
and in 2 weeks I'll
I'll
give
give you
you
back.
10K. I told her 10K so that she would give me 5K. Was big, it was sensible
In
money then.
2019, of
Yeah.
course.
And she gave me the 5K. And after a week, I called her that, how far? I want to return your 10K. And she's like, keep it. So which bank will tell you keep it? So,
Nice.
family and friends, honestly, the best. Friends, I would say friends because some people say, "Oh, I don't come from a well-to-do family," yada yada yada. That's why it's very good to be a good person because your character will always speak for you. If you're already the kind of person that asks for money and then they're chasing you
To
to
pay
return
back,
it,
you already have bad
yeah,
credibility.
it's not going to work. So you have to be a good person. You have to be a nice person so that you
You have to
can
build relationships wisely.
exactly. So that's on raising funds.
Okay.
And then also on raising funds, there was a time when I won a grant
Okay.
that I did not have to pay back, and that's because I put myself out there. So I went for an event, and then the organizers announced an impromptu pitch competition, and my hand just flew up. I had nothing in my head.
Your hand flew up before your head
I'm
processed it.
telling you, boldness. I was like me.
I'm sure your eyes must have looked at you and like,
I said,
why are you
when I
up?
got to the front, I'm like, what have I done? So I got
I
there.
love that.
I got there and we were 8 contestants.
Mm.
People were talking about agriculture, education,
Mm.
and I came to
Sounding
just
so gang gang.
telling you, I came with my humble jewelry dream. I was a student and and I won. I came first and I got that money. It was really a game changer. So just you never know, right?
Yeah.
It's not always about bank loan. Leave
Put yourself out
all those
there.
fair money. You don't need any of
Whew.
that, please. You don't need
She went for the juggler.
Right. And then back to the first part of the question.
Okay.
Can you remind me what?
Yeah, so what would be the biggest advice? But I think you've already shared, some really huge chunk of advice, how to raise funds, starting from friends and family. But if you want to throw in another advice for a young school leaver or someone who's in university and considering combining academics with business, what else would you tell them?
I would tell them that they should learn to have staying power.
Okay.
A lot of young people, and I know this because I talk to them all the time. I have sisters.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see someone's WhatsApp status today, they're selling thrift. And then tomorrow they're coming to tell you that they're now a content writer.
Stay in one place.
Tomorrow, they're telling you that they are now into photography. And the issue is that they think that every time they announce a new plan, people will support them. It doesn't work like that.
It's the other way around.
Exactly. You need to stay. Now, if any of my friends or contacts, if you ask them, who sells
your jewelry plug?
Even if they've never bought from me before, I've been doing this for 6 years. There's no how people would not immediately think of me because I have stayed. So people need to learn to stay in one place. I'm not saying stay if something isn't working. There's obviously that exception. But some people don't even give things the time to grow, to flourish, to bear fruits. They just do it for 1 week, 1 month, 3 months. This isn't working.
Tired.
And they move on. So that's going to be my advice.
So powerful. So 2 quick key advice. First, don't try to raise funds from loan sharks. Don't try to raise funds from banks. Focus on friends and family and leverage having credibility. Utilize the relationships that you have. Be a good person. That's just putting it simply. And second is, I think I missed your second.
The second is
resilience, staying power. Yeah. Don't be inconsistent. One business today, another business tomorrow. You think you're making people realize you can do a lot of things, but it's the other way around.
They'll forget.
You're showing them that you are inconsistent and they cannot really associate you with one thing clearly. Final question for you, and this is a word of advice. Now, there are some young people, teenagers who, unlike Elsa Lagos, they do not feel they are good at everything because they do not know a lot of things that they can do. To them, they're just figuring out their path. So what would you tell that young teenager who's listening, who's not sure what to do next, who doesn't think they have a business head, who doesn't think they're super athletic like as Elsa, who doesn't think, oh, having a first class can come easy to me. Come on, 70% A, we can do this. What will you tell a teenager who's figuring out their path?
Okay, so this is going to come twofold. First thing is, a first class a is not guaranteed success.
True.
I have friends that graduated with a third class that are much richer than myself. They have gone on to do amazing things. It is not always it's not always an indicator of success. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say is, I think that people born in this generation are very lucky. You can go on YouTube, leave YouTube, you can go on TikTok and learn anything and use that to make money for yourself. When people think of business, they always think of buying and selling. I think that is putting it in a box. Business can be anything. You can make a business off of voiceovers, off of writing for people, of
Write about
literally
anything.
anything you want. And if
Anything legitimate.
legitimate, please. And if you think like you don't have any ideas, you can just go to YouTube and type 10 business ideas students can do while in school. You'll see a lot of videos of giving you ideas. Pick the one that works for you. Pick the one that you think you can manage best. I don't think there's any human being that cannot do anything. And if you are really, really clueless, ask your close friends, what are 3 things I'm really good at? Like, get feedback from outsiders. You can hear things like, oh, I think you're really patient. I think you're really kind. I think you're really easy to talk to. These are things that can be converted into business.
Yeah.
If you're really, if you're someone that, in fact, they can tell you something like, oh, if they ask me to call anybody that will pick, I can call you. That means you're reliable, you're bankable. That is something you can translate into a business. Maybe you can apply for roles as a customer service support,
as a virtual assistant.
A virtual assistant, because you're reliable, you're always there. So the sky is endless, it's limitless. Really.
Yeah. So don't put yourself in a box. Don't assume you need to be a business head immediately. You can apply yourself. You can write about anything you set out to do. And the world is a global village.
Yes, it is.
The world now has right about so many universities. Back in the day, we used to say YouTube University. Now there's TikTok University. There's anything university.
Anything.
If you are interested in just learning. This has been so amazing. Thank you for joining us on the Career and Growth series brought to you by the Yaka Initiative. I think we're going to have you again. I'm just not sure in what form, but we're definitely bringing you back. And please ensure you share this. Do not fail to subscribe if you haven't already, like, and share it with as many people as you can in your contacts who need to learn from all that is being shared here. Thank you so much again for coming, Elsa. Can we say bye to the audience? Bye.